Welcome back to Parimatch League Season 1. That's right, we're back for day number 2, Day of Redemption here between the CSIS boys. I'm Killer Pigeon, joining me once again, T Governor, ready to dissect the draft as it will emerge. But look at this, HellRaisers, Team Spirit, some well-known names, been around for a long time in the CIS region. Didn't fare too well yesterday. They did, in both cases, get 2-0'd.
That is correct. Yes. I think out of the two series, I think HellRaisers showed also out of the two teams, HellRaisers showed that I think their drafting wasn't as strong as the 4 teams in this competition. So I think that's like a thing to improve on. I think in this series, and then Team Spirit, the reason I think why they lost their 2-0, I think they just the first game they had the Nature's Prophet strat. They always go for the couriers. It was a very unique kind of concept, but overall it was just 178 just had like the better way of team fighting and ending the game. So again, like potentially some referencing towards maybe weaker drafts, but again, these two teams now going into lower bracket, they're going to have to make some improvements. So it'll be interesting to see.
It felt like Team Spirit's issue was more their experimentation of how they felt that this meta should be, compared to HellRaisers, which was execution more often than not.
Yes, yes, exactly that. And you can see already with the draft, HellRaisers going with the first pick IO, and now, as you've seen from games yesterday in the open qualifiers as well, IO Tiny is very much back. So now, as soon as you first pick an IO, you have to go, are we picking this Tiny, or are we giving them IO Tiny? So Team Spirit already responding with the Tiny to mitigate that.
Yeah, it seems like we rewinded a year or two and we're back in this moment.
Oh, I'm so ready for IO Tiny again. Like,
it's been so long that I'm forgiving of it, right? It's like Doom getting picked right now, right? Like, if it continues to get picked for like 2 months, I'm like, for God's sake, just get rid of this hero, please. Rework the hero or something. But for the moment,
yeah, for the moment I'll be fine. If in like a week or two, the whole patch is literally in terms of drafting. Like drafting's beautiful when there's like diversity within the first phase. When like you ban out some heroes and it allows 2 or 3 to go through. When everyone's fighting over the same like 3 or 4 heroes, you can only ban so many, right? Which then means the first phase draft is very kind of generic. So I hope it's not like so broken it just forces the draft to be boring, but we'll see.
Yeah, it feels like the nice optimal balance is 2, these are just a bit OP right now, bans, then maybe 1 to 2 targeted bans at that team, and then you like move into bans that are focused around protecting your draft and occasionally blocking your opponents.
Yeah, as long as there are targeted bans, that's key. So like in most of these games so far, we've had Chen, Lone Druid, and Kunkka bans, and then the rest of it has differed from team to team. So Ench has been banned against like Spirit, for example, and then the Doom has now started to be banned after yesterday. There was a couple of Doom games, but some of them weren't that great, but like it still had a good placement in the game where if the team had played a little better, then the Doom would have like overall had like a stronger appearance.
Yeah, and it's also the theory crafting in place at the moment. You have to realize that Ags they introduced him, like it's, we haven't seen too much of it, but it is actually an incredibly potent Ags, and with Ags becoming easier to acquire with more gold in the game, and with them being added to Roche previously, you can see why that's a threat.
I think that just gives him another avenue to play the game.
Yeah, it's like another power booster on top of everything else.
Yeah, much later into the game. Yeah, I think with Doom, you've got it's like the ability to just have a decent presence within the lane, and the fact that I said this yesterday, when a new patch comes out, everyone potentially overthinks things. So as they overthink, those heroes that normally would get punished don't get punished because people kind of drift away from like the classic counters because they are again overthinking things. So in a week or so,
they got like a whole binder of strategies, right? They're like, yeah, this counts that, and it's like, oh, this was so obvious. Oh, tiny.
Exactly.
But the interesting one, I don't think we had it banned, but we had it picked once yesterday, was Venomancer. I feel like maybe Venomancer support's coming back in with that health regen reduction on the lane.
Well, it's like a built-in vessel, so it does work well against these lineups that have these kind of Necros or IO lineups. It's just how do you work it into a draft? So, for example, Spear right now, they do have a lot of stuns. In terms of team fight, they do lack is a little bit more kind of single target stuns. But potentially, if HellRaisers pick less lockdown and also go for just a very split pushy lineup, then yeah, Aveno could potentially punish this type of lineup. So we'll see. It'll be interesting how they integrate it into drafts in the future.
Yeah, because I think the issue with that hero has always been this kind of gap where it doesn't feel like it does much. It just wants to keep farming and farming. So it's kind of this weird example where you wouldn't run it as a carry, but you think of it as a 4 protect 1 type lineup where your carry has to be active, like maybe a Sven or a Juggernaut could early on, and then you just have a Veno farming away.
Yeah, I think it applies a lot of lane pressure if you pick it correctly. So I think the game I think there was a game yesterday, right, where there was a Veno and they picked PL. Like
Yeah.
that scenario is not good because
They were just too slow, right?
well, not only that, but like the Veno can't truly dominate the lane because the PL can doppelganger. So the lane isn't too scary. Like that's what Veno's strat is. You have to be strong in lane, take the tower, and become like a void inside the enemy side of the map. So if you draft it better, then yeah, it can work. But it's not going to be picked this game.
No, definitely not. Like there was maybe a window when you see Legion IO because you're already seeing a hell lot of regen coming out from the Radiant side. But at this stage, it just doesn't. I feel like it works in Team Spirit's draft. You could argue it as maybe a mid, but you do have final pick in fairness as well.
Yeah, I think it's. I think there's way too many other heroes that are much stronger. I don't think Veno got enough changes for it to be like.
No, it feels like more of an off lane. In my opinion, right now, it's like an outer lane hero because you need that time to run people down, right? And like that's where you get the most value out of the health regen reduction.
Yeah, but more importantly, I think actually Spirit, their lineup right now, from the games yesterday, so the teams that were losing, they always had like a little gimmick in their draft. They had this either Nature's Prophet with Lycan Veno type strat trying to push out lanes and split push, or HellRaisers had some Venge Kunkka Winter Wyvern strat, and they had no real jungler type hero. Now you can see Team Spirit has adapted from this, and they've got a very clean, easy, low cooldown kind of brawler lineup, which is what you kind of want when there's so much diversity in a patch. This type of lineup is the one that will see you through these kind of lower bracket games. You know, if you lose this 2 games, you're out. So
yeah, so then just try to keep your draft as simple as possible. Really, it's something like we've noticed more and more over recent years is teams moving away from we could have the black hole and then we could have the ravage and then we could have the exorcism. It's like, nah, how about some stuns on low cooldown, and if we screw up the ability, we don't then have to do nothing for 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's all about having a presence on the map. So, and HellRaisers, so when you think of IO pairings, the classics are of course a gyrocopter. Then you have the old classic, which is Tiny, and then some of the more like niche ones that came through were IO Legion and IO Ursa. These were both used, I think, that not last patch, but like within the last year is a better way of wording it.
I think was it about a year and a half ago? There was the Ursa raid boss. I remember. I think it was Secret, right? They ran that. I believe it.
Yeah.
When Kuro was back in the team.
Potentially, yes. My memory doesn't work that well.
I always just remember it because he was diving towers at like 10 minutes constantly. I think it was like Alliance versus Secret game.
But it's really good right now where HellRaisers have the Lich that obviously is a natural counter to Sven, any physical damage. So Venge and Sven is somewhat negated by the Lich. They've got a Hard Dispel from the Legion. And then this IO can enable both potentially the Legion in laning phase if they're laning together, and also the Ursa during the mid to late game. So in terms of lanes, they're going to have strong lanes.
10 seconds.
Do they have enough damage in lanes? Probably not. They're going to be on the back foot, but they're going to have strong enough lanes to be able to actually have a presence in them and not feel pressured like they did yesterday.
Yeah. Also, with the new Ursa, he's a little bit hard to actually catch out. We talked about a few heroes that can utilize all these new little gaps in the map that you can hop across. This guy is harder to catch in the Roche pit and punish. Like, you can get him out of it, but he can easily just barrel roll over the edges to escape now. So nice little additions that... Yeah, seriously, I've tested. I was like, I got ganked by 3 heroes. I'm like, oh no, I'll just run to the edge and press Q.
Okay, you just jump out. All right.
It's a little free fall stuff.
Out. You know? Okay. I was like, waiting where you're going with this. I was like, what are you on about? Like, he's hard to get into the... Oh, you mean he can literally...
He can just barrel roll out, yeah.
All right.
He's an acrobat now. It's all good. But like
My only
that is a small thing, but it's noticeable with the new map design, right? There is a lot more. You can
There's a
see
lot more
windows of
space.
opportunity for it.
Yeah, I think the map in general is a lot more open, which it's a thing that they are moving patch to patch when they make map changes. Areas of the map are becoming more, easily accessible. And I was gonna say with Hellraiser, I'm worried with their draft that they didn't have outside of like this Ursa jump, they didn't have a front line and like a clear way to really move with your timings, right? So I was worried about their high ground, worried about their just ability to kind of after they get kills, what can they achieve? So an alchemist
10 seconds remaining.
does somewhat allow them to do this. Like if he builds a big enough lead, they're going to be able to get
5
all these
seconds
kills, and they
remaining.
will just be able to just eventually get into high ground. Again, my fear is simply Spirit. They have last pick. They can see that Hellraiser's draft doesn't have a very clean way to end the game. So any mid hero that can potentially delay will overall allow them to have the better draft. Sven, it is a good counter to the Alchemist. You have a high amount of physical damage to burst through the Alchemist. Sure, there's a lich in the game, but when you have so much team fight, it is messy. And Hellraiser's draft, it has to be like perfectly executed to deal with Team Spirit.
Do you feel like if you're on side Team Spirit right now, do you actually just try and win on the lanes? Because it looks like Hellraisers are quite strong there, but you definitely have a crap ton of stuns.
Oh, the bat! Oh,
All right,
this is
that kind of answers it.
this is a nice pick. You just Batrider off lane, okay?
Yeah, the Ursa will never be able to touch anyone. This actually seems really good for them because I was looking at Hellraiser. I'm like, okay, you've got an Ursa, you've got a lead commander, you've got an alchemist. So you're looking for like quick ramp up, and you should be winning your lanes. But then you realize how many stuns Team Spirit already has, right? Like every one of these heroes except Batrider has a stun accessible in the lane.
Like even so, yes, this Batrider, it heavily punishes any melee heroes that aren't are pretty slow and take a little bit of time to come online. When you think of, sure, there's a Legion in the game, so the natural Legion v Batrider counter or matchup, but this is all going to be about the lanes. And in
10
the first
seconds
minute,
remaining.
how does Team Spirit approach their lanes? Does Hellraisers try and do a swap? Do Team Spirit need to scout first because they can expect a swap? So it's all going to be about the mind games to ensure this Batrider gets the best lane to punish this Ursa. Because you want this Batrider to follow the Ursa around the entire game. You want this Tiny, he's going to be obviously against the Alchemist, and he should be able to bully the Alchemist and have a decent lane. And with any rotation, he should die. So it's all about this Batrider and what he can do in the first 10 minutes to unlock his draft and get them through the early phases that Hellraisers can potentially do something.
And also, this Alchemist is Radiant side, which means you're likely to get ease of access if your dire supports from the south, right? Like we talked about the north yesterday, how it's a lot harder to come from, but the south is mostly unchanged. It is still a very vulnerable location where the Radiant can be exploited from.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the main reasons why you can pick a greedier mid when you don't have last pick. If you're Radiant, is simply because the comparison of mid and dire kind of openings to access the mid laner. Dire is very open. It's very easy to gank. Radiant, it's the same old Radiant, right? You got the high ground to your left, and you got that tree line hugging you to your right. So it's easier to play disadvantageous mid lanes.
Yeah, it's that
Radiant.
situation that basically you can make ganks on to the Radiant heroes, right, from the dire side, but the problem is it's more predictable. Typically, supports don't want to have to TP to get in that gank, so they want to try and move naturally. And moving naturally from the north now doesn't really work.
Unless you got a cookie, you can cookie your way over. But let's never do that ever.
We're kind of not there yet. You know, that hero is not allowed for good reason, Robson. It's okay.
True.
It's going to get buffed again. I'm calling it already. Actually, the Ags is going to get added, and it's going to be global ultimate.
That'd be so good, actually. But it's so bad as well because it's so hard to like.
I mean, it's even more
It's so
travel
hard to
time,
predict
right?
it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it would be glorious because you just pick a Zeus, a Spectre, Nature's Prophet, old school style, you know.
It's interesting to see that Team Spirit actually opted to block the small camp with an observer, especially with this patch having everyone having couriers. It's so much easier to ferry out that sentry because your mid laner's not hogging it. So I'm expecting this ward to be dewarded very early.
But don't you get the
And-
value if it just gets the first two creep waves, first 2-3 creep waves through to you, right? Because now the observers, of course, they're limited, but they don't cost anything, right? So if you can secure the first few waves of that off lane, you're feeling pretty comfortable.
Potentially, yes. We'll see how it plays out because I just haven't. If they're as they're trialing as well, there might be other reasons, but
Oh, they are. They are putting the Legion mid. I was wondering if they were going to out mind game themselves because I thought maybe Team Spirit would run it mid just to try and get like a good matchup because it's probably Alk. So I think they're holding the Legion mid for the moment just in case the Batrider shows. And he'll realize and move away.
and now they're moving the Ursa bottom into the tri lane.
Yep, because they had that deep ward. They did spot the Batrider pretty early. So if he wants to play musical lanes, he's definitely going to be behind. And Ursa's pretty fast
RTW
as well.
though, he just lost like 300 HP to a tower because he was blocking the creep wave.
And he will regret that soon.
Interesting.
It's okay though. Look, the supports are actually waiting for Elmo. They can hit him with a stun. That's half his HP straight away gone. He has got Salve, but
Oh, powerful.
Elmo. If Immersion had moved across there, I think he never would have got out. Luckily for him, Ursa's still a fast boy, even after the slight tweaks to his speed.
No, I really like the ward placed, that deep jungle one, just to make sure. Okay, they're not ready in the lane, so someone's going to be rotating. If he hasn't TP'd yet, alright, he's going to be running over. Let's just go and assess what's happening.
No, that's a fair point. Like, the reality is, right, if he's coming in like that, you now know you can't play musical lanes to win. It's not like you've got a Chen in your team. You just have to accept that this is how the lanes are going to be. Unless you can get a kill. What they might try and poke and prod for. It's not that easy though on an Ursa. Like, he doesn't have much damage to fight back with at level 1, but he has got 5 armor and a lot of movement speed. Here we go. Stun
This
in.
is not happy for the Ursa.
Frost armor. Will it really protect him? Just about gets him out. He already used his salve though.
So at the start of the game, it was like, okay, Batrider is going to follow the Ursa, but the flip side to that is, if you just tri-lane an Ursa, he's equally as upset. So
Yeah, it's probably one of the most underwhelming heroes at level 1, actually, from the carry position. Because Furious White's level 1 is a mild tickle at best.
oh, there we go. Now they rotate the Batrider in. Okay.
Alright. And Venge went top already as well, so they're just going to dual lane now. I think they're trying to stay on top of them for the stun when they try and TP out, so they're going to at least force Bao Bao and say off the way first, maybe.
I kind of like this play actually. It's if you want to break it down like super hard, it's the tri-lane forces out a lot of Ursa regen, and all Ursa wants against a Batrider is to have that one salve to get through that Firefly, and then he can then play in the lane. So if you eat through a little bit of his regen, then the Batrider can then potentially dominate the lane, especially if he has level advantage from being in a solo lane top. So, this is really smart from Team Spirit. Really like this.
Yeah. I mean, the flip side is obviously you are putting Sven against the Legion. It's not the most favorable lane up, but he can actually do something on the lane. He can farm, whereas when you're a Batrider, it's more important that you bully your opponent out of lane.
Yeah, top lane will just be a trader farm, which again, I think Team Spirit, they're perfectly happy with. Like, their Sven is like the answer to the Alchemist, and then their Tiny, he can deal with all the supports, and Batrider, he just sits on the Ursa, so...
Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Alk, he's definitely behind the Tiny. You expect this, though. Even with the nerf to Tiny's damage, he's still pretty formidable, especially with the new tree being available at all times.
Yeah, but it doesn't work on denies now, I
No.
believe, so...
I'm pretty sure it's... Yeah, it shouldn't do. It's like they got rid of the splash, right? Which makes sense considering you have an infinite tree now.
It's actually insane you have an infinite tree. Like, that's so...
I'd love the lore explanation on
Legion
this.
to all... Sven top though.
LTV. He has got the salve, so if you can get away, the Orb of Venom's about to run out, so he will be able to actually get the space to heal up.
Oof, very close.
And Rune is bot, which means the Merchant's going to pick up an Arcane Rune. Shouldn't be too useful because of how low the range is on level 2 Burrow Strike, but if he goes top, they might bait themselves in here, Seiyu. Stun comes out. There's press the attack with a magic missile. It turns out the counter to Legion Commander is stuns, stuns, and more stuns, but you still
You don't have
stack
enough
them
stuns.
a little bit too much.
Yeah.
They could have maybe
He's,
held that actually on the Sanking, right? Because they could have got in front of him and then just wait for him to try and tether.
Yeah, potentially you could have body blocked him a little bit and stunned him, but when you want to kill someone, you throw your stuff on him and you hope he dies.
Then you realize, nope, IOs. It's not even an IO with a point Nova charge yet. It's going to get even harder from here. However,
The 5-minute mark coming up, bounty runes.
yep, Ergon's rotating. Got to try and deny it from these alchemists. Instantly, HellRaisers should surrender the top runes. Meanwhile, on the bot, it will manage to get the hands on both of them. So Alk is going to be content with 2 runes, considering he wasn't there to contest himself. Even finds a neutral item straight away.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was watching him farm this camp. It's like, instant, it's the 5-minute mark. Will he get the neutral item?
Not the best one, but not terrible, considering movement speed allows you to move between those camps quicker.
This actually isn't too bad for Alchemist, especially because you don't have the mana regen built into your ultimate anymore.
Yeah.
When he does shrine up, he's now going to have an extra 2 acid sprays, or 1 and a bit acid sprays, sorry. So, in terms of farming, he's got extra move speed to move around the jungle and lane, and he's going to get 1 more acid spray. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and then your Lich will be grateful for it later. He won't be happy with this, though. He is going to be the first blood. As they got 4 stacks on him, it was enough to run him down.
Oh, it's actually kind of nice to see the Poshka die today first, and watch his courier die. Because yesterday, he caused so much carnage with the Nature's Prophet. It's
karma.
Team Spirit just exactly. It's putting him in his place.
You know, it's letting us go, hey, you know, this was fun for you, but how does it feel when we're the ones killing your pets?
Exactly.
You know, it's not so John Wick's when it's on the other foot. Alright, Immersion has been spotted out rotating here. And straight away we'll lose like half his HP pool here. But you can understand there's maybe a little bit of imminence from Team Spirit. They feel this need to try and actually get on top of the Alk at some point. I mean, end of the day, it is Alchemist. You should know how this game works. You have got a lot of stuns. You should be rotating early. Another Corey gets sniped out.
Yeah, so HellRaisers, they have a very clear timing, which is they get this phase. Phase boots is their timing. No. So they get the Radiance, get the BKB, and this Team Spirit draft does not fare well against an early BKB if their Sven doesn't have the items. And of course, Sven will never have enough items to deal with an Alchemist timing of a BKB. He needs to wait an extra 10 or so minutes to get the correct item. So it's how well Team Spirit can move around, punish the Alchemist, and take those early key engagements into the items that HellRaisers can bring around the 15-20 minute mark.
Exactly. The idea of being Superman on Sven is nice, but the timing it takes you to get there, it doesn't have its relevance. You don't have your counter Alk, and if he does rush a BKB, which he should against all these stuns, he building a Spirit Vessel won't change that either.
But you can see from the positioning of Team Spirit, they are trying to invade this jungle, but this Radiant Ward has just shown where they are the entire time.
They do at least get kill and support out of it, but not the big kill they're looking for.
I think there's a great importance though that especially with these big high grounds, these should be like default dewarded when you're trying to do invade.
Oh, Ergon, no! He could have got the item. He could have picked up the shovel. But he decided he wanted to right-click on an Alchemist that was never going to die instead.
It's unfortunate. Oh, and he gets the bounty rune! Woo!
Oh.
Let's go, Nyx.
Oh, no. That actually would have been
RNG,
so
baby.
game-changing right there. I mean, he gets to kill on a Bobo, but who cares? You just gave him a trusty shovel and they have an Alchemist in their draft. I feel like this is going to be the biggest reason Alka is going to be very bannable. Like, we talked yesterday about you shouldn't think too much about neutral items, but if there's one hero that benefits so much from a low-tier item, it's going to be Alchemist. Also,
his courier.
Portal Courier.
Elmo's courier. Oh no.
Oh, that was definitely in the wrong lane.
And Miposhka. Team Spirit are just playing very aggressive.
I'm pretty sure by the 20-minute mark, he's going to have more deaths on himself than he'd done to couriers yesterday, like in total. I think that's how this goes. This is true karma in full swing.
Looking at the neutral items though, HellRaisers have got 3 pretty good neutral items, and the worst thing actually is the trusty shovel is Team Spirit's trusty shovel. It's not even HellRaisers.
Yeah.
So HellRaisers still have the opportunity to pick up one more level 1 item, or tier 1 item, sorry.
Ergon is probably quite frustrated himself there. I mean, it felt like a weird rotation anyway. The reality is you're never likely to get through the Alchemist with a one-man rotation from Tiny at that stage. So being there in the first place is, what, trying to deny farm, if anything?
Sure, it is the playstyle that you need. Oh, Misha.
A little bit deep. I think you forgot what side of the map he's playing on.
Misha put another deep ward in, again, so that they can potentially get some more courier snipes in this game. No, I think
you can change
it is
his
just the
courier.
playstyle. As they go on mid as well, it's what you need to do against an Alchemist. You need to stop him from hitting creeps and make him feel like he has to run away.
Oh, look,
But
and
there
they'll
is
get
a,
killed
there is
by
a
one
limit
minute.
though to how much you do it.
Yeah, you have to balance it. It's like it has to feel fluid, like you're moving through for a reason already. Which in reality, when you look at the kind of sequence of wards they've got down, it is prioritized around shutting this out down. Even more so now with that trusty shovel. Speaking of which, runes, there's actually gonna be 2 going the way of HellRaisers, and the other 2 haven't even been touched yet.
Batrider TP bottom, and yeah, that means they should be getting bottom as well.
And there needs to be some worship going on as top goes the way of Team Spirit. They might get bot as well.
Yep, Team Spirit will be getting 2 of them.
All right, HellRaisers. You know what they've done? They're like, guys, we've got a shovel, we've got a route. We don't really need XP. We just need more gold.
Yeah, but HellRaisers, I think they understand that there's a lot of pressure coming from Team Spirit, where they just need to just delay them, waste a bit of their time, and then when their Alchemist is ready, then they can take fights. Like this Lich dying is perfectly fine.
Yeah, they
like,
brought 4 heroes.
Exactly, the Alchemist. This is meant to be an Alchemist kill.
Oh, they're going to turn around, look for kills in return as they come in with the IO. Elmo trying for a kill, swap out though. Urgon goes in. Now the stun's going to come out, looking on the IO save. Can he stay alive long enough? No. One big hit will bring him down with the DD on the Tiny, and the swap out onto Elmo. Trying to push him back. The flame break will be able to do so in the body blocks. Not quite on point. Phase boot stopping him from being able to do so, but they'll still find the kill as they dive the tier 2 tower. He turns around though. Urgon backs away just in time. Just enough mana there.
I was literally just saying how this was fine that the Liches just ganked 4 heroes, and then all the boys assembled. Oh no, that was not that good for HellRaisers.
This is kind of one of the big baits whenever you pick Ursa though, right? You feel this kind of imminence about fighting. You're like, I should be the best brawler on the map. And then you turn up, and it feels good for like 2 seconds until you realize, I'm only good if there's one hero.
Or if he has a supporting cast of stuns with him.
Which is what he'd be having if he was a Team Spirit hero right now.
Yeah, they have a plethora of stuns. Plethora, that's the way you phrase that.
I think both, I don't know, do both work? Is that a British
I think
versus
they
American
do.
saying again? I believe so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what doesn't work? Ursa lead the charge in, maybe. Oh, there we go.
It's another duel win.
Gets the duel win. 20 damage now, not too bad at the 12-minute mark if you're a Legion Commander. Oh, in the meantime, there we go. Immersion finds down by him. Just an ironwood tree, though. Where are the mangoes, you know?
I think okay, they're going on mid first. Are they? No, yeah, they are. Okay. I was gonna say there's you can see how there's such an importance in this game as they push this tier 1 tower. The vision is so key in these games, and the dewarding aspect, it hasn't really been understood yet as the patch is so early with the map changes.
True, but like something that has never really changed for a while now is you have to get rid of this tier 1 tower quickly to open up the jungle to deny this alchemist. Like Team Spirit are most definitely on the clock with getting rid of these towers quick enough. I mean, most team engagement, most team lineups, they need to prioritize those towers, especially the mid one, right? But when you're up against an alchemist, you can't allow him to have that first 20 minutes where there's no ease of accessibility to his jungle.
I think they've mitigated the fact that they're not going for the towers so aggressively with the fact that they're playing behind them with this deep vision. So they will slowly take them, but right now they're opting more for, we're going to put pressure on you so we can't free farm, but we're not going to try and close you out where we feed a couple times and potentially lose the game because of us trying to be too aggressive too early. So they're doing it in a very controlled manner.
Oh, see if it works out in the long run. The Frost Shield's slowing him down, but it looks like RTV does arrive to commit with the God Strength. The stun coming through onto Ursa. Now Chain Frost bounced around between Ursa Merchant and his teammates, and the Enrage. Way too late for Malmo to make a difference. There's going to be a reload in behind them, and Posh going to be chased down still, but RTV having that God Strength. They'll turn around. Stun will come out to Legion Commander. There's going to be a return with the reload in 5 seconds, but it's not long enough. And actually,
Thanks for playing Dota.
that magic missile, if that had connected, that might have killed him off, actually.
Also, is it still flying towards him?
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now. It should be, in theory. It seems to have disjointed.
Have you clicked on the Sven yet for the item he's going?
Yeah, I said this earlier. It was going to be Ags.
Oh,
It's the go-to. Why do you need a blink anymore? Like, Ags is twice the cost, but this is the Earthshaker mentality.
you right click and you travel. Oh, it's very beautiful. I'm looking forward to this. This is gonna be
It's actually a lot quicker than you realize as well.
Mega kill.
It's like when you test in the demo area, you're like, I mean, this is going to be easily dodged by everyone. And then you realize in the moment, like when you're on these maps, your camera is a little bit misplaced. It catches you off guard quickly. Elmo is running in. Press the attack, but Avalanche should cover the escape. And it is a DD tiny, so they should respect this and back away. Happy that they got the rune. But they only got one for all the heroes
They're
that
trying to
there.
secure a rune and maybe have a little go, but they can't. Like HellRaisers can't take any true fights until this alchemist wants to play with them. Like they have no real stun, they have no real like frontline. Sure, this person can go in, but he only has phase drum. Like he needs a BKB to be able to fight into team spirit.
Let's also keep in mind that this isn't going to be the BKB out, so it's going to be a little bit harder from fight, just being tanky alone. Immersion, epicenter, stuns up catapult. Ooh. Stun through. Control's good, but now the press attack trying to allow Sage to escape, but the gold strength's there, and he's down. Now the duel. I'm not sure that's the target. They'll go for it though with the enrage, and they'll have enough damage, so the rest of the team have to disperse. Still carrying the Chain Frost with them. Ergon will be turned around as well. Doesn't have the toss for a good target to get them away in time. The Avalanche is finally there. Is it going to be enough? No. They get in with the overwhelming odds. They'll turn around, look towards the tier 1 tower top. And there's a good fight for HellRaisers. Lasso. Just Miposhka again. Doing Miposhka things.
Yeah, so Alchemist joins the fight. There's a little bit. I wouldn't say. I guess it was. No, that was fine. That was a good one.
Yeah, I'm wondering what happened there because I think Immersion did have the blink, but something must have put it on cooldown. I think he got clipped by the Radiance. Yeah,
like these fights for Team Spirit, they should be, especially because they don't have any BKBs on HellRaisers. If they do get their initiation onto any of the cores, they should be dying. So the fact that SK kind of wastes his epi, misses his stun, and just dies, it just puts HellRaisers in such an advantageous position for this fight. So yeah, it was good for HellRaisers, but even though they win the fight, I'm kind of skeptical that they should have, just because mechanically Team Spirit were just not there.
They were relying on Team Spirit's mistakes more than anything else.
Exactly. That's why I was so confused at the end of that fight.
Yeah, because I was looking, I was like, oh man, if only this Sand King had a blink. And I clicked on it, I was like, he does have a blink. Oh no.
I believe he got clipped by the Radiance when the Alch moved in.
That's what I'm thinking. But even then, like, pre-channeling an epicenter level 1, you might as well take the chance and Burrow Strike in, then channel it, right? Because at least one of those pulses is probably not going to get any use at all anyway. And if you have so many stuns to follow up, especially if Sven's close enough for the AoE stun, then you should be okay to still cast your ultimate. We'll see if they learn.
We'll see in the next engagement. This next engagement will be pretty critical for HellRaisers. Do they get a little bit of confidence from that last fight, thinking they can now fight, and in reality, they can't still, because they need to wait for that item? Well, we'll see.
Ooh, Ergon, he desperately wanted to snipe that courier. That was bringing out the Ogre Club for the Ursa. Well, he shows us a bit of composure. He realizes actually they're going to be on the retreat from the tower. It's not worth the risk. And in about a minute's time, you should actually be focusing around these outposts again. Maybe they try and sneak in control of both. There is a chorus sitting in the lane for Radiant top. So it looks like some teams starting to use the chorus for a little bit more warding, a little bit more scouting.
They get the shield. What level do they get the shield at again?
It's either 15 or 20. I think it's 20.
20.
And haste
and the
is
speed
25,
boost at
right?
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
I think so. I can't remember the exact levels, but I'm pretty sure the speed boost comes after the shield. I may be wrong, but I think they're both super late.
I believe it's like 10 and 20 personally, but you know, I'll quickly double check.
No, I'm willing to see I'm probably wrong on this, but
that's fine. Yeah, speed burst at 10 and shield at 20. All right. Cool.
Yeah, it was. What was 25?
But use items.
That was the one, yeah. Motion. Someone get him out. As I was trying to remember for sure.
Trying to read the used items and watch that death was like, oh, that was a challenge. My eyes were cross-eyed for a second.
It's just a Sand King support, nothing important. But actually poking on the Bo. LTV rushing in. Boom. Hammer's gonna come out. And there'll be a reload out. Seu is in trouble though, as the creep wave is already here, so he has nothing to escape to. This couldn't have happened at a worse time, actually.
I don't mind this heart pick up on the.
Mega kill.
And
Superman's here, by the way.
Oh, he's got it now. Yes.
And he's
Excellent.
got the van race. Ah, you're feeling good.
And they get the outpost. So it's going to be a 1-for-1 split on outpost, which again, if there's a 1-for-1 split, the game's normal. As soon as you see a 2-0 split at any point in the game, there will start to be this build-up of XP.
Radiant's middle tower is under
Definitely.
attack.
But
But
no, the Alchemist, he's opting to go for the heart, which again with Team Spirit's lineup, if he's not being targeted by the Venge of the Sven, it's perfect for him because he's going to be able to tank through all the spell damage without the need of a BKB. The issue is if he does get caught off by 4 or 5 heroes and he's by himself, he will instantly be dying due to the lack of armor. But he's going to mitigate that through buying an AC and potentially later on then a BKB and Abyssal to complete his build.
this is... It more or less feels like this is him relying on the IO to ensure and the Lich to ensure he survives, right? Like, they have a lot of stuns. You could die without the IO and Lich being there. So this does leave you vulnerable to them picking off your supports first.
We'll see if it pays off. I think a BKB, it might allow them to win the next 2 to 3 fights, but then he might fall off. So this build allows him to have a little bit of scaling.
And then maybe dial back later. Immersion was waiting mid, but realized he had bad experience with Radiance before, so he looks to retreat and does get out as they were scouting for him. I have a few deep wards spotting out still. It seems like Team Spirit has been prioritizing this bottom Radiant jungle area a lot with their vision. But matching it even so in the top area as well. Just making sure they have an eye on Nyx wherever he is on the map. Moving to the bot lane now. LTV ready to be He-Man. Versus the Universe moves in. Stun control onto him. Now the Chain Frost bouncing around. Elmo's in with the BKB. Turns around on LTV as he tries to escape. Will be forced off to safety by Ghostic. But Ghostic now has to use the lasso just to defend himself. Misha will go down in the meantime. It's a 2-for-2 trade. It's all supports are dead. LTV out the stun. Press the attack straight afterwards. It looks like He-Man cannot even verse 1 or 2 heroes, let alone the Universe. Ghostic, he'll run away with his Firefly between his legs.
That was so aggressive. Like,
It's the power of Svenag. It baits
It just-
you into thinking you're the most
It's
powerful
like-
person in the universe.
it's like old-fashioned. You know when Huskar like life breaks someone and he just starts charging him, and then you blink, you force again, and you're suddenly in your base, right? It's the same
Yeah.
principle. Like, it's a cute play, but when you're near a tower and the eye is able to, tether away and get a little bit more distance, you're gonna be forcing your team into some really awkward fights.
So what you're saying is the counter to Sven now is Mirana, Enchantress Ags, anyone who has a lot of sudden mobility to pop.
Sure, because if he does connect onto you, you just move deep into your team and off you go. But I think in all these games, actually, the team that's somewhat slightly ahead, they have such deep vision, and because of all the map changes, I don't think people are used to trying to get these D wards out. So then normally these wards are lasting quite a long time. Like, you see the ward here, it's lasted its entire lifespan.
Yeah,
So-
and they instantly renew it like, okay, if
And
you're
then
not going
this
to
one
get rid
here
of
as
it.
well. Exactly. So, and like HellRaisers, they've not had any vision outside of their own side of the river, and they've also been able to de-ward quite a lot. So, I think again, new patch, little bit of not so much knowledge around about where people are warding yet. It's making these games a little bit harder. Where if this was an old patch game, HellRaisers would have de-warded their jungle by now, and they might have a couple big defensive wards up so that they're not feeling so much pressure.
It's like the X-Nova example, right? After TIA, everyone started looking at his way of warding, right? Instantly, they were learning new things, new positions. And it's kind of like that feeling, right? Straight away, you're in this new patch. You can see how close these sentries are to spawn things, but already Team Spirit have a clear indication of where they think the best ward spots are in these areas.
Yeah, well, the biggest takeaway is don't place them on these hills. These as they go
The
on mid
newbie
though.
trap. Yep, they're moving
Exactly.
in. Epicent has been channeled up. The last to drag Alchemist in with his toss as well. That's enough to bring him down. Stuns. Maybe he should have built that BKB. They're looking to chase more. Here comes Superman. Jump straight in. God Strength. Save. Protected by the press attack for a moment, but stunned up the magic missile and dead. Movement 4. Burrow Strike. They are just rousing around, flipping kill after kill as they will find free. Maybe even 4 as Ergon has a haste and is still going.
Like, the
He's
only
got the
way is
alpha.
Alchemist.
Toss him back.
Oh,
No.
BKB there.
All the
Little jump.
Sinister Gaze. He's still got the haste though. Force Staff gets him away. The Chain Frost shouldn't bounce as long as his teammates stay away. There we go. Misha just about gets out of range.
Luckily, it's quite early on in the game, so the respawn times are low. But the only way they die on or lose a a fight so hard on HellRaisers is by this being by himself. We said earlier, Alchemist only dies if he's by himself and getting clubbed down by 3 or 4 heroes. So, especially with the no BKB build, he relies on his team to keep him alive during those initial jumps. So, HellRaisers, they have to make sure if they make a move on the other side of the river, they have to play together.
And that's the big thing as well, because, you know, you talk about these 4 protect 1s usually, and it's like, okay, it would be awkward if you died, but it's not definitively the end of the world out of the gate. The problem with Alchemist is, if you make 1 or 2 mistakes, you die once or twice in a row, it's so much more punishing because you have so much more gold and usually so much more XP.
But a critical Roshan fight right now for HellRaisers.
I'm not sure it's going to go uncontested, though. There's the last two on the back line. Control up the Lich, drag him out. Nyx arrives, though, with the stun opportunity. He throws it out maybe a little bit too early. Press the attack to get him out of the Burrow Strike, and now the duel coming out. Trying to control them up. Maybe find themselves a kill. Tiny's so far away, though, they won't be able to get him in time. They do manage to pick up the Aegis, stick it on Elmo, and they'll run through. 2 dead already for the Lich. They might find more. Elmo scouts around, but it looks like Team Spirit are quick to disperse in all directions.
Dire's middle tower.
As and the buyback.
He doesn't want to lose this tower. It's a hefty buyback, but you do keep the tier 1 alive at least. Now you just have to pray for a repair kit. Make it so worthwhile. Jump across, stun out with the Spirit Vessel. Alchemist is the target here. Activates the BKB, looking to fight. Nyx charging up the stun, but who does he use it on right now? Elmo is stunned up as well with the Avalanche tonight, and will even drop in the mix. Burrow Strike through. Control is still good, but the damage is not. The Frost Shield is reducing so much damage. Elmo, Aegis is gone. Ghost Stick controlled up. Chain Frost bounces once and not again. But Ghost Stick, he can't get the blink off. The Radiance Burn is stopping him now. They're going to throw out the concoction. The control looks good, and they should be able to bring him down, but there it is. Sven saves the day. The swap out to keep Ghost Stick alive, but barely. An Avalanche should cover their escape, but they will now lose the tier 1 tower.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
And in the end, for all your stuns, for all your control, yes, you get an Aegis, but that's all you get after having to buy back your Tiny.
But this just shows that if HellRaisers play together and they enabled Alchemist, these fights are scary for Team Spirit. The Sven, sure, he has this Ags, this way to kind of get into the fight, but he doesn't have this insane damage that you would have seen on previous builds, like an Echo Saber, Daedalus, an AC, for example. These are the items that scare an Alchemist. With this new build he's going for, an Alchemist doesn't really care. He's already got an AC and a heart. Like, this Sven doesn't do anything to him right now.
Another duel in the bot lane as Venge gets caught out a little bit far from the team. And I think the other thing to look at here is, you know, if you're Team Spirit, this might be the most critical item to nervously look through neutral items, wondering if there is a Dispel item. Because if you had some way of getting rid of that Frost Shield, you could actually kill this Alchemist. But while that Frost Shield persists, I don't see a way. Like, you so much in the physical damage, right?
Or if he's by himself, then sure, you can very easily kill him. But no, when he's got the supporting cast of his team, it's very hard.
Rainbow TPs. Ergon just got dragged in. Lich making plays solo to set up for the team as they will all arrive. Ergon, toss. He just wants them away from him. He wants mercy, but he will not find it. As they stick him on the sideline for 90 seconds because he bought that previously.
You'd even argue, like, even with an early vessel purchase from Team Spirit that I believe the SK has, they have the Legion, and it's very easy just to press it or purge it off on the Alchemist, and now he's fine again, so...
It feels like we can play Mirana for us arriving in the Dispel meta, but now that everyone's realized how great it is against Spirit Vessel, that was already an item that was feeling nerfed and weak, yeah, now it's here to stay. Enjoy your Legions, ladies and gentlemen. They're not going anywhere.
He's got an XP talent as well. He's very much deep-rooted within this this patch.
Yep. I'm expecting a return to Tusk the offlane as well. Just that hefty XP talent. Feels so strong right now. What's the other ones people looking at? I think Warlock was another big one. Weaver. There's a lot of things people are eyeing up just because those XP talents alone.
Oh, they've still got this trusty shovel.
I mean, you're never going to drop it. You got an Alchemist. You should always be using it. Think of the salve value for your IO as well. Okay? This lineup gets so much value out of a tier 1 item. Pretty sure that trusty shovel may be the return of Flash's way for Void as well, just to get all the free salves. Stun out.
Carrying a
Lich, the
gem,
target.
by the way.
They might get him before he can throw out the Frost Shield. Now, Gonna be a 1-for-1 trade. Tiny's coming up soon. The epicenter through. Be able to get rid of Io as well. They've got rid of the support and cast. The buyback's gonna come out, but Ghost is now here. He could offer control. BKB running out soon for Sven. Needs to be careful. Sayu does reload in to protect Nyx, who will turn around and look to bring down Sven. The stun control is good, and RTV, he might be able to live. No, he has to move across. Tries to juke them out long enough so that they return, but 1 second was all they needed, and they find the kill into Sven before exiting the area. And now Olmo. Press the attack. Run away, enrage, turn around opportunity maybe, but there's too many stuns. He's surrounded. Bo, this is not the time to support him. This is the time to leave.
Okay, that was good from the area. He took away the Alchemist. I was worried for a second that he'd leave the Alchemist there and try and continue the fight, but the Tiny was full HP, full mana. He was ready to take a second engagement where the Alchemist wasn't.
Understandably so. You get the big value though. You got the Sven kill, despite them also buying back in that situation. You're feeling pretty cozy if you're HellRaisers on that one.
That was a very weird approach to taking that tier 2 though. I'll draw it. So they approached the tier 2 in this way, right? Then they were all standing here. The Lich opted to place this ward right here, whilst they fully controlled the jungle. Naturally, when you want to take a tier 2 tower, you want to own the high ground next to the tower, and then play onto the tower, so you fully own it. They had a gem as well. So instead of placing on this high ground, which they allowed Team Spirit to place the ward in when they went into the fight, it's like you gave vision advantage to Team Spirit whilst trying to take this tower. And I think if they had that ward out, they would have seen these two heroes that came from the high ground, and the Lich wouldn't have been in a low ground position. Like, they put themselves in such a choke point behind the tower, simply on how they approached the vision going into the objective.
And also that, as a result, exposes their backline so easily. Like,
exactly.
you saw the
Lich
instant
just blew
initiation.
up, right?
Yeah, that was the straight away. I think he didn't even get to cast a single spell.
He frost shielded himself and then just died.
Yes. I think that happened like halfway through as well. That's the pain. Like, there's so many stuns, and we talked about how great they are against the Alp. This is where it really can screw over the HellRaisers lineup. Is with that much CC, how do you even cast these protective spells as the Io or the Lich?
But I'd like to see this Alchemist. He's got the a Butterfly and a Bastion out. I would like to see him with an Abyssal and a BKB. I know his entire build was he's trying to scale into the game where he has a 10-second BKB because Team Spirit have so many stuns. He needs a 10-second for that critical time. But that critical time is right now.
That's
Or
the
soon, at
risky
least.
line you kind of weave when you play this hero, is like you want to try and have those late opportunities with the BKB, right? But if you leave it too long and you throw 1 or 2 fights because you don't have that match community, it's instantly just feels almost impossible because you give so much gold over to heroes like the Sven and the Tiny. Sven's not doing too bad now. 15,000 net worth, surpassed the Ursa, heading towards the Daedalus next.
Yeah, he does need to start buying these big damage items to eat through this Alchemist.
Yeah, and sometimes
when
there's a
you've got
question, right? Whether you go Daedalus or Bloodthorn. This feels like a good game for Daedalus because of how close Io, Alchemist, Ursa, and Legion should be in fights, right?
You know what the build is? It's Daedalus Rapier.
Yeah, I can get behind that. They're also
need-
clustered in these fights, right? So you could get value out of that cleavage.
Like, if it's beautiful, you know? Like, if they can start the fight and he can just get a very good stun cutting through a couple heroes, he needs the True Strike as well against this Alchemist, and I don't think an MKB is going to really cut it.
I'll go on with the spider legs to make his escape. God, I love this item. If there's one neutral item I'm having all the time, it's spider legs. It's actually pretty ridiculous that you can actually use both phase boots active and spider legs active to more or less break the sounds barrier.
I've not seen that yet, but
It's in max movement
sounds
speed.
perfect.
It's pretty nice. Jump in, immersion. Trying to move away with the Burrow Strike, but look at that. Elmo moves through straight away. Now, Lassie control's going to be there. Drag Io out the tether range, trying to split them up. Sanking chased by Nyx, but now the rest of the fight on the other side. Swap out from the duel to try and protect the Tiny. In the meantime, they will be able to find both supports from HellRaisers. Now it's up into the cause. Vengeful Spirit getting low. Stun control onto Ursa, buying more time as they chase across the different targets. Ergon is chased away though, and Nyx, now they have the Spirit Vessel out. The stun control is good. Avalanche follow-up, he's going to stun himself. That should be enough. They should be able to reinitiate onto him. With the Epicenter coming out, they will be able to bring him down. Ursa runs for the high hills, and Alchemist is dead. And by the way, Roshia spawned, the most inopportune time of your HellRaisers.
yeah, these fights are just quite sloppy from HellRaisers now. They're approaching these objectives, and Alchemist is going so deep. They get the tier 2, but then they try to chase in the Sand King. They tried moving into high ground. Again, they have no vision. Sure, it's a new patch, but you have to respect the fundamentals of Dota. That is, if you don't know what is in high ground, you have to assume it's scary. And the Alchemist, he runs up this high ground, chases very deep, leaves his team by himself, allows Team Spirit to then completely ignore this Alchemist that's getting solo kited by a Sand King, and then the rest just blow up to a Sven, just cutting through the supports. Like they're all so out of position, trying to follow this Alchemist.
And that's the thing, chasing away that Sand King feels so desperate that kill is a necessity because he has the counter to use the Alch. You're just baiting yourself at that stage. You get dragged so far away from the fight, and even though you have an Ursa, even though you have a Legion, and you think, these are actually pretty good physical damage heroes, it is still all on the Alchemist. Everyone here is a supporting cast.
And it boils down to the fact that their only real stun is the Legion getting a duel, or when the Alchemist
Sinister
purchases an
Gaze as
Abyssal.
well, right? But you can't rely on
Sure.
that one either.
Sure, so that's a very weak stun, but sure. So you then have a Sinister Gaze or a Duel. If these don't go off, then you're relying on your Alchemist to really get in front and force them. But Team Spirit, they've got 4 stuffs. They've got Disengage through, obviously Sven can use his stun to get some distance. The SK can stun away. Like, you got Swap as well. HellRaisers, they need to, if they don't have the items or the skills or the spells to be able to actually lock someone down, they either need to wait and buy them, or they need to just make sure their fights are really disciplined and they're always together. Because their entire lineup is about helping one another to survive and get through the fight. That doesn't happen when you're out of position and out of vision.
Yeah, it feels like HellRaisers are this kind of methodical, competitive team strategy, right? Whereas Team Spirit is a competitive team using what is basically a pub draft.
It's a ragtag fight you draft, right?
Yeah, it's like you could put this in any game.
It's beautiful to watch. It's just fun, you know?
By the way, LTV did go for the Bloodfall in the end, which, I mean, I know I said Daedalus is great, but now you realize how much the Alch is the only thing that matters. And speaking of which, BKB from Alch, as he goes down for 1 kill, they turn around to the IO instantly. They realize once again what they need to do. Ergon, however, has been separated from his team. Aegis is gone. Mercy moving in with the epicenter. The Burrow Strike gets rid of the Lich as well. Now LTV can go to town on the rest of them. Legion Commander trying to move away. Avalanche, good control. Ghost Stick is on top of him to make sure Bobo goes down. Now the Lassio is there, which means Alchemist with the stance on him will stun himself and inevitably die afterwards, as there is no escape from the power of the Sven. And where is Ursa again? This feels familiar. I'm pretty sure last fight he was doing this exact same thing.
Daedalus and Rapier, if you put them together, you do get a Bloodthorn. So,
but without the downsides. This seems like a good idea.
Exactly. We smart. But yeah, I think it's now a little bit too late. You've seen from the last 2 big team fights from HellRaisers, they put themselves in such a back foot that now Team Spirit can literally just go through mid and end the game.
I mean, they're going to glyph. They're refusing to give up just yet. But yeah, this is going to be hard to defend without your Legion and without your Alch for 40 seconds, 50 seconds. Stun into the Fountain, but Lich pushed out as well with the Spirit Vessel there. They might be able to bring him down. It's close, but no cigar. But they've already exposed the throne. And this should be it, but there is the movement in with the Enrage, stunned straight away, but the stunning return onto the Ursa to ensure he cannot get the kill. Immersion backing away the Spirit Vessel on Elmo, and he can't stop them from taking it. GG. As Team Spirit, they take game 1, and I mean, it really does come back to what we talked about, T. The ease of execution is what we're really looking at this game. It just felt like HellRaisers, it worked up to a point. Is it me, or did this feel like the type of draft that probably would have been sussed out sooner by VP? Like, I'm going to keep using them as an example because they've been the cleanest team we've seen here so far, right? But like Team Spirit, we mentioned this yesterday. These kind of tier 1 teams, you make a mistake, they punish you maximum, right? These teams, we've seen both sides make mistakes, but once you realize the weakness in the other's draft, you can see that it's much easier to take out HellRaisers than vice versa.
I think that, sure, that is a good point in general, but I think HellRaisers, their draft, it had its strengths, and the issue I don't think actually boiled down to how to execute their draft or how to actually play the individual heroes. I think the actual issue was the more fundamental level of how they play together as a team, how they play around the vision, and how they approach objectives. Because Team Spirit, their draft was very easy to execute. It was very nice and clean to look at. But then HellRaisers, like, they had to have good positioning and good vision to be able to make sure that they can get the saves and they're not getting jumped, because they don't have this jump. They have to wait for Team Spirit to come to them to make to then be able to save and reinitiate, right? And the last 2 fights that HellRaisers took outside the ones in their base, in which they've already lost the game pretty much, Like, they were fighting into high ground, into choke points where they'd opted to place their vision defensively or further back instead of on that high ground, which again, the value of high ground vision is so key. So I think right now it's HellRaisers just aren't playing when they are in a winning position, they aren't playing optimally to ensure that they can take that winning position into a high ground siege, into something that can actually transition into them winning the game.
So it's not as much easy execution of draft as ease of execution of, would you say, map dynamics? So the way
Exactly,
they're playing the vision for a start.
Yes, I think that is one of the most key things, which was apparent from this game.
All right, well, that's something for HellRaisers to think about. We'll see what they can come back with in game 2. But Team Spirit right now are 1 game up. And, you know, I'm sure there is an eager J178 watching the wings to realize who they're going to have to face. Will it be the people who can't find wards? Or will it be the people that might be a little bit too tempted to just run your pub stomp lineup? I don't know. All I know is I like stuns. It wins you games. Are we going to see more stuns next game? There's loads of questions, but we're going to ram a break in your face first before we get to that.